Chip Hanauer, with 6 consecutive Gold Cups, is the defending champion. Today, he'll be seeking his 7th, while Scott Pearson, the Mr. Pringles, second in the points, will be in the hunt, as will the U66 with Mike Hansen. He's had surprising qualifying speeds. And George Woods Jr. and Oh Boy Oberto leads in national high points. Today, he'd like to win the 1988 APBA Gold Cup. IPI Sports brings you the HFC American Hydroplane Series. This third stop, the Budweiser Thunder on the Ohio APBA Gold Cup. 11 of the world's fastest race boats will be vying for the most prestigious award in powerboat racing, the APBA Gold Cup. The HFC American Hydroplane Series is sponsored by Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource, and Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick, along with Dick Crippen, on the shores of the Ohio River in Evansville, Indiana. It's Budweiser APBA Gold Cup 1988. This is the most prestigious event in the history of powerboat racing. You win this event one time, you've had a successful career. And speeds, Dick, we've seen speeds.
Oh, all week long we have. On Friday afternoon in the qualifying, a 2-lap record was put into the books by the Miss Budweiser. Tommy DeEath is driving that boat at better than 145 miles an hour. Chip Hanauer in the Miller High Life came in just barely a split seconds underneath that, and then the Circus went in. Circus for the first time this season topped 143 miles an hour. Now we have 4 turbine-powered boats that are going to start the first heat today, so it's kind of like a semi-final right off, and watch that first turn.
Hold your breath on that first turn. It's going to be a hot race. And speaking of heat, literally, we've had 105-degree temperatures down here, add 15 to 20 degrees because of the hot sun on the pavement. The drivers are going to literally cook today. They're going to have to really watch their cool. The Gold Cup, as we said starting out, is the most prestigious event in the history of powerboat racing. To win it just one time is quite an accomplishment. Chip Hanauer is looking to extend his streak to 7 straight. Other boats are out to stop him. We have past winners that are in the pits as spectators and officials today. And we asked them, what does it mean to win a Gold Cup?
Yes, I won the Gold Cup back in 1955. Probably was a highlight of my driving career. It was quite a thrill doing it in front of 600,000 people in Seattle, Washington, and taking it back to Detroit where it belonged.
The Gold Cup means an awful lot to the Miss Budweiser and myself. It's probably one of the most prestigious cups in the world today, and we have every intention of taking it home again.
1971. We won the Gold Cup in Madison, Indiana, in the hometown boat before 110,000 spectators. Biggest thrill of my life.
Well, to win the Gold Cup is obviously the dream of every boat racer in the world, and I've won one of them, and I'll tell you what, it was the most exciting day of my life. And to win 2, I think, would be even more exciting.
You can imagine what it would be like to win 6, and this is the man they're all going to be after today. The record holder in Gold Cup wins, 6 consecutive wins. Chip Hanauer is looking for number 7. A guy who will not be looking for the Gold Cup today, which incidentally would be his first ever Gold Cup, is Jim Kropfeld. Jim Hendricks joins him down in the pit area.
Say hi to Jim Kropfeld, injured in that Miami race, but he's back as a spectator. He's going to join our sports staff this weekend with some driver analogy. Jim, you're wearing what they call a halo, and it's actually cemented right to your skull, isn't it?
That's right. Around the top part that goes around my skull, there are 6 screws that they've actually a torque wrench down into my skull through the first layer of my crown, so to speak. That holds my head steady along with the 4 parts of 4 bars that you can see coming down, attached to a vest that goes around my body.
Jim, how long do you have to wear this contraption?
Well, anywhere from 2 to 4 months. At the present time, we really don't know exactly how long. I have to go in next Friday for a CAT scan to see how well I'm healing up. And from there, we can start making some decisions.
And then next year, you think you'll be back in the boat?
Well, I sure hope so, but, you know, Tommy's doing such a good job here with the Miss Budweiser, maybe I won't be able to get back in.
Well, one thing for sure, we know Jim Kropfeld will enjoy the view here on the Ohio River from Evansville, Indiana. This is a great American city in the Midwest. It's a city that has a lot of history to it and a lot of beauty to go right alongside it. The race is run beneath the Four Freedoms Shrine, which stand high atop the banks of the Ohio River in Evansville. It honors the states, it honors the war dead. Also a proud part of the community, the University of Evansville. This is scenic Mid-America at its very best, and today it's the scene of the world's fastest race boats. Unlimited hydroplane action. The APBA Gold Cup will get underway in just a moment.
Jim Hendrick and Dick Crippen here on the Ohio River at Evansville, Indiana, Gold Cup 1988. Dick, we're all set for the start of Heat 1A.
Tom Deeth will be aboard the Miss Budweiser. In the Oh Boy Oberto, it's George Woods Jr., the national high points leader. Hulsett Miss Madison, Ron Snyder will be driving the veteran boat. U8 Mr. Pringles is Scotty Pierce. And the U10 competition specialties, Larry Lauterbach, followed by the U00 Miller High Life, the defending Gold Cup champ, Chip Hanauer.
6 boats are set to start. I believe Oh Boy Alberto has just collided with the Miller as they come down to the start, and you, Dick Crippen.
In lane number 1, it is Mr. Pringles, competition specialty Larry Lauterbach. In lane number 2, Tommy Deeth. In the Miss Budweiser, lane 3, Hulsett Miss Madison bouncing on the outside. Ron Snyder driving that boat in lane number 4. 3 Turbines take the lead, and there is the start. Budweiser on the outside. That's the boat to watch. Competition specialty closing him on the inside. Both of them passing up. Mr. Pringles putting Pringles back in 3rd place.
As they come to the apex and come off of exit number 2, it looks as though competition specialties has a slight edge, but here comes Budweiser on the outside, takes a slight edge coming down the back chute.
Tommy Deeth pushing hard now, manages to get a boat length on the 2nd place boat. Larry Lauterbach in the competition specialties. These 2 drivers have driven the smaller boats together many, many times. They know each other well. Budweiser now taking command.
Miss Budweiser now takes the apex of corners 3 and 4, comes down to complete lap number 1. He's a little wild there.
There you can see the arm of the flag man. He's waving the yellow flag on the course now to caution all drivers that the Miller High Life is dead on the water right now, and he's on the course. Tommy Deeth, Miss Budweiser in command. He had a little disappointing start in the boat in Detroit, but now he seems to have command of it, and it's operating flawlessly. I know he's got to be smiling as his owner, Bernie Little, down in the pits. There's the disappointing story of the race. Miller High Life dead in the water. Chip Hanauer with a great seat, but that's about it.
3rd place here is Mr. Pringles with Scott Pierce, who had an accident in Miami, and he's getting that boat and himself back in shape in racing form.
Scotty Pierce doing a fine job. He's in the points race right now, and he'd like nothing better than that Gold Cup under his belt also. Well, he's got a shot at it today. Here's the Hulsett Miss Madison, the veteran driver with the veteran boat. Ron Snyder aboard that boat that's community-owned out of Madison, Indiana. There's the Budweiser lapping the Hulsett Miss Madison.
Well, he's had speeds of 133.3, lap 134.2, 130.2. 120, 124. He's slowing it down now as he knows he's got the lead. He's not going to wreck his equipment.
He wants to hold that equipment in there because Tommy Deeth knows what it's like to win the Gold Cup. He did it in Detroit back in the mid-70s. He'd like to do it again here in Evansville, Indiana. Look at how light the boat gets, though, as he comes out of the turns. Tommy Deeth in the Miss Budweiser. 2nd place still is competition specialties with Mr. Pringles riding in 3rd. Miss Madison is 4th. Here's your winner, Tommy Deeth, his first step toward the Gold Cup in 1988.
And Tommy Deeth averaged 126.2 for this heat. And here's 2nd place, Larry Lauterbach. Going slow. There's a report from the course. There is some damage to that boat. He took a dive in lap number 1 down the back chute. 3rd place will go to Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce.
Now, I know Scott Pierce has got to be happy, but I don't think anybody's happier than this crew that you're looking at right now. Jim Hendrick is on the dock with the winner, Tom Deeth.
You got a good lead on that start.
Well, the guys are really mixing it up there, and I knew it was going to be pretty tight with 6 boats, and they were awful early, so I just, picked a hole and went for it. I was a little bit early. I had to back out of it just a skosh, but then I saw it was time to go, and I left.
Bernie, you have to be real happy.
Oh, I am. Tom did a Herculean job, as I knew he would, and Miss Budweiser and Tom Deeth will be in the winner's circle.
Well, it's going to be a long day.
It sure is.
Our congratulations to the Miss Budweiser crew. 400 points after Heat 1A. Competition specialties with 300. Mr. Pringles at 225 points. And the Hulsett Miss Madison with 169 points.
The Miller High Life, we have a report, has a hole punched in the boat. He's still in the water. Let's find out what happened between him and George Woods in the Old Boy Oberto.
Okay, George, it doesn't look the same as when it went out.
No, I'm afraid not, Dick. We were coming around the corner down there scoring up. I was in about lane 5. It looked like my lane was going to kind of go away before the start, so I looked over my shoulder and I didn't see Chip there, and I slid over a couple lanes trying to find some clear water, and Chip was coming up from behind, and I tapped him right there in the corner a little bit and got the left front sponson, and I don't know how Chip's boat is. We hit not real hard, but solid enough to break some parts on our boat, and you know, just a miscalculated error on my part.
There's a lot more exciting action of Gold Cup 1988 coming up after this timeout. A warm day here at Evansville, Indiana. On the Ohio River, we're about to start Heat 1B of action.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup in the Arc Construction boat, the U4. Stephen David will be driving. U7, the Paddock Pools boat, is Jerry Hopp. Mistro Light, the automotive-powered boat, driven by Todd Yarling. The Miss Circus Circus is John Prevost out of Louisiana. And the U66 Sutphen Spirit, Michael Hansen, the driver.
As they come down now, we're under the 1-minute gun. Steve David, the rookie, takes the Arc Construction on the buoy line in lane number 1. John Prevost in the Circus Circus is in lane 2. Sutphen Spirit with Mike Hansen, lane 3. Strolight is dead up in the upper turn. Paddock Pools is trailing as they come down to start Heat 1B.
And it's a perfect start for Arc Construction. That is the boat driven by Stephen David, the rookie out of Miami, Florida. They head to turn 1. There you can see Strolight to the left of your screen. But look at the two turbine boats. Circus Circus on the inside and the Sutphen Spirit on the outside. They are side by side as they go to turn number 1.
And they take over the lead with Circus Circus in lane 2 out in front. On his hip is Mike Hansen in the Sutphen Spirit. A couple of turbines as they shake it loose off of corner number 2, side by side coming down the back chute.
This is great unlimited hydroplane racing, turbines side by side. There you can see Johnny Prevost of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He takes the pink Circus Circus into the lead, but just a couple of boat lengths over the second place boat. Hansen is coming up, and there he is. Mike Hansen on the outside. He starts to take the lead as they come around turns 3 and 4. Hansen really piling it on, manages to nose out Circus Circus out of turn number 4.
And now it's a drag race down to complete. Lap number 1 at around 125 miles an hour, side by side. Looks like almost a dead heat, but a slight edge to Sutphen.
These two guys have driven side by side many times in 7-liter hydroplanes. Look at Hansen on the outside, gets a little bit loose in the Sutphen Spirit. There you see the Strolight, the automotive-powered boat, Todd Yarling, driver. He's got a good seat, but as we say, that's about it. He's sitting there watching. Circus Circus right now, the story of this race, along with the Sutphen Spirit. That's Johnny Prevost in that cabin. Here's Arc Construction riding in third place, the rookie driver driving for Jim McCormick, a former Gold Cup winner out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Then this is the story. These two boats tying it up, two turbine-powered boats, just about neck and neck all the way around.
Give a slight edge to Circus Circus with John Prevost in lane number 1 as he hangs it on the hook on the outside. On his hip is Michael Hansen in the Sutphen Spirit, and it's going to be a drag race here on this last lap as they hit through some rough water coming off of corner number 2 and down the back chute.
They really have Circus Circus glued on the water right now. They've got to be feeling good about the way that boat is operating. Johnny Prevost took a little time in Detroit to get used to the boat. He tried to qualify it, couldn't really get it up to qualifying speed, but boy, once they got into it here at Evansville, they had 143, and did you see him lift his sponson? But they are side by side coming down. Sutphen Spirit, the white boat on the outside, is now just slightly in the lead. Here comes the checkered flag, side by side. Circus Circus on the inside tries to catch him, but Mike Hansen takes the win in Heat 1B in the Sutphen Spirit.
What an exciting first heat side by side, neither driver giving an inch, and it was a drag race off of corner number 4. Third place goes to the rookie, Steve David, in the Arc Construction. The reciprocal powered boat, 4th overall to the Paddock Pools, driven by Jerry Hopp. Over 100,000 enjoying heats 1A and 1B so far. Let's go down to the happy winner circle.
Okay, Mike, I got to congratulate you. You know how to put an exciting race on.
Well, that's the idea. This is a show and it's a race. We gave them both.
You certainly did. It looked like you were even Steven almost all the way around speed-wise with the Circus. The only difference was you were on the outside, he was on the inside.
Yeah, we had a little bit more top end on him, but it was kind of iffy if I could use it. The water was real rough going in that first turn. The boat would start to kite. But we had top end on him. He got us a little bit out of the corner, but I think that's because he had lane 1.
Well, it was kind of interesting because each lap you came around side by side out of the turn, he pulled you a little bit coming down to the start line. You always got him right after the start-finish line, and I was wondering how that would play out, but he actually kind of hooked coming out of turn 4.
Well, I noticed that we were coming up on some boats, and they were on the inside lane. So my idea was to keep him in lane 1 or 2 and let him run in the rough water and me stay out in the clean, and it paid off in the long run.
It paid off with 400 points in Heat 1B for the Sutphin Spirit, 300 to the second place Circus, Arc Construction 3rd, Paddock's Pools overall 4th. We'll have more action from the HFC American Hydroplane Series from Evansville, Indiana in just a moment. Jim Hendrick and Dick Crippen, Gold Cup 88 here at Evansville, Indiana, as the Circus leads the field of 5 out onto the course.
This is going to be Heat 2A, and in this heat, oh boy, Alberto, George Woods Jr. driving the boat. Arc Construction, the rookie driver, Stephen David out of Miami, Florida. Paddock Pools with Jerry Hopp aboard. Also in the field, the Miss Circus with John Prevost out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And rounding it out, the U66 Sutphin Spirit, Mike Hansen. Those two boats put on quite a battle earlier, the Circus and the Sutphin Spirit.
It looks like oh boy, Alberto wants lane number 1. Circus is in lane 2. Steve David in the Arc Construction lane 3, and on the outside, the Sutphin Spirit as they come down to the start. All 5 boats with their rooster tails flying.
And the biggest rooster tail is from the front boat. That's Circus, the pink boat. The driver from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Johnny Prevost, took no chance at all. He got himself just about a perfect start, but watch on the outside of the rooster tail. George Woods in the oh boy, Alberto is closing fast. Now that's a reciprocal engine, so that's not an expected race at this point, Jim.
But he's going to get one anyway, Dick Crippen, as he comes on the outside. It pulls even, and now slightly ahead of Circus. We have a drag race down the back chute.
So oh boy, Alberto is on the outside. The boat painted in the colors of the Italian flag for Art Alberto. Circus pulls him a little bit coming out of the corner, and now Circus has the lead again, but George Woods is giving him no quarter at all. He's holding his boat right in there, just a couple of boat lengths off the leader. And it looks like Sutphin Spirit is coming up on the outside. Sutphin Spirit in lane number 3, and here he comes.
No more dive for the first turn and start a parade. In any corners, 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're going to have boats side by side in 1988. They're that fast.
George Woods and oh boy, Alberto now the leader, and there's Circus as he comes out into the rooster tail. Circus in there. What? Oh my goodness, Mike Hansen up and over him in the Sutphin Spirit. Sutphin Spirit continues on. Circus dying in the water right now. Johnny Prevost apparently okay in that boat. We got to check what happened on that one. Here's your leader right now, oh boy, Alberto.
Sutphin Spirit just did a piggyback ride right over this pink Circus, wiped out part of the tail and part of the cowling, and he's steaming. He's out of this heat.
So Johnny Prevost sits in the water in Circus. He has radioed his crew that he is all right. We'll check into what happened out there, but here's your leader right now. Oh boy, Alberto, George Woods, who really has got that boat running hard, especially after he had that little mishap with the Miller High Life in the first heat.
A fast repair, a fine crew for oh boy, Alberto. Here is your number 2 place boat right now in this heat. Sutphin Spirit, Michael Hansen, as we go back to the leader, coming around for the last time.
And we're going to have to watch closely because Sutphin Spirit really has some good power. Here's a boat with no power at all, and you can see the red flag is out on the course. Red flag, and that's going to signal off George Woods in the oh boy, Alberto. They have deemed it necessary to get the crews over to the Circus. They do not want the race continuing while medical crews and the rescue crews in general are getting over there. Here's your winner. He will be proclaimed the winner. They were over halfway through the race. George Woods in the oh boy, Alberto as they start in on Circus and find out what happened.
Well, here's results in a 3-lap heat that they have called official. Oh boy, Alberto first, Sutphin Spirit second, Arc Construction, followed by Paddock Pools, and Circus, of course, did not finish. Oh boy, Alberto, the winner of Heat 2. And of course, a fine job by Jim Harvey and his crew to repair the boat after the collision in Heat 1 with the Miller High Life. Let's go to Dick Crippen. Dick?
Well, George, another story in the book for the 200-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah, no kidding. Boy, the crew of the Oh Boy Alberto, and with the help of the whole Budweiser team, there wasn't a single person on the Budweiser team standing by their boat. They were all working on ours, and I guess that 200-mile-an-hour tape paid off again today.
You had good power out there. You were riding with Circus right along several of the laps, and obviously you had to feel good about that.
Oh yeah, we needed some points, and after I slid and bumped Chip there and put us out of the first heat, you know, we had to go for it this time.
The second place Sutphen Spirit is being towed back. They're taking on some water after the collision with Circus. Driver John Prevost okay, the boat is damaged. Miss Budweiser driver out of action since the Miami accident. Jim Kropfeld is our analyst today. Let's go to him in the pits.
Well, after 3 preliminary heats, I'd have to say water conditions are very good. There's a little bit of breeze, which the way it's blowing now doesn't seem to be causing any problems for the drivers. I think most of the problems out there right now, as this is the Gold Cup, and naturally Chip Hanauer has 6 consecutive, which is a record, headed for a 7th. I think you're going to see a lot of hard driving on the part of all the other drivers to try to defeat Chip right here at Evansville, which I consider the fastest course in the country.
Heat 2B coming up, and here is the entry list for Heat 2B. Miss Budweiser, Tommy DeEath will be driving that boat. Also Miss Madison with Ron Snyder on board. The Mr. Pringles, the U8 boat, Scott Pierce. Also in the field, the Miss Stroh Light, the automotive-powered boat with Todd Yarling, the driver. And the Miller High Life gets back in action with Chip Hanauer, the defending Gold Cup champion.
But he's not answering the bell for this one. We're down to a 4-boat heat. Miss Budweiser, lane 1. Mr. Pringles, lane 2. Miss Stroh Light, lane 3. And the whole set, Miss Madison on the outside as they come down to you in corner number 1.
Corner number 1 sees the Miss Budweiser in the lead. Tommy DeEath, and it's Pringles in second place. Mr. Pringles with Scott Pierce in control of that boat, and he is really trying hard to catch him coming out of corner number 2. The story of this race right now, the 2 turbine boats, but the real story, the boat in the lead, the red and white beer wagon, Miss Budweiser. Tommy DeEath driving. Scott Pierce in second place in the Mr. Pringles.
The boats seem to be riding down the back chute a lot better because they're going with the wind, but when they come off of corner number 4, they tend to get a little light. Watch the Miss Budweiser with Tommy DeEath as he comes around the complete lap number 1, and as he does so is very near the course record. He's 138.0, the course record with Jim Kropfeld last year in this same boat, 138.1.
Here's the Miss Stroh Light, and this is quite a story. This is the automotive-powered boat that is driven by Todd Yarling. As you can see, they're in a battle right now with the Hulset Miss Madison. Ron Snyder, the veteran driver, on board with that boat.
Hulset Miss Madison on the left. On the right is the Miss Stroh Light with Todd Yarling. Todd Yarling lives in Madison, Indiana. The boat he's battling is from his hometown. As they go into corner number 1 and through the apex, battling for 3rd position, here's our leader, Miss Budweiser, driven by Tommy DeEath from Fairhaven, Michigan.
And we talked about the lightness of this boat. In actuality, they want to tiptoe back and forth between the sponsons, but they've got to really keep their eye on the attitude of the boat. That's why a lot of times we tend to call these drivers pilots. They literally are flying a wing across the water. Second place, Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce, the battle for 3rd right now. And Todd Yarling went inside. He missed the buoy, and he goes to turn the boat and spins it. Todd Yarling has spun out. He's killed the engine. He's sitting on the infield. He won't be a danger to the rest of the race, but what a disappointment, I know, for Todd Yarling, but a little bit of happiness, I'm sure, for the Hulset Miss Madison, Ron Snyder. He is being passed up and lapped by the lead boat, the Miss Budweiser, but the Hulset Miss Madison right now holding in 3rd place.
Tommy DeEath, driving Miss Budweiser, has taken the seat since the injury to Jim Kropfeld, our driver analyst for this particular race. And he is doing very well today as he comes off of corner number 4 to pick up 400 points and a perfect day so far for Bernie Little's racing team.
As they look ahead to the Gold Cup, Miss Budweiser now collecting a total of 800 points on the day, winning the 2 heats that he has been involved in. Tom DeEath coming across for the checkered flag, averaging about 129.104 miles per hour. A good run for the Miss Budweiser. Second place goes to Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce, and 3rd, the Hulset Miss Madison, Ron Snyder. Here are the points that they accumulated in Heat 2B. Miss Budweiser, actually with 2 heat wins today, has a total for 800. What's missing here, Miller High Life. That boat may be out for the day. We'll check on it. Here's a boat under repair, the Sutphin Spirit. Let's go down and get the story from Jim Hendrick.
Michael Hansen with the water. We could not exactly see what happened on the back chute. You describe it. Did you not, or did you hit the Circus?
Yeah, we did collide. It wasn't actually on the straightaway. It was coming through the second turn down there. All of a sudden, he came through the Alberto tail about, maybe 2 boat lengths ahead of me, and I just turned left as hard as I could and turned the thing sideways and went over the back end of his boat.
What about the damage to your boat? Anything?
Oh, we punched a hole in the non-trip, and we dinged our prop up and tore some sponsons up, but we're trying to fix it up for the next heat.
And the good news is both drivers are okay. Here's the Circus boat as we... What in the world's going on here? The Miller High Life wings going on the Circus boat. Some changes in the pits. Let's go to Jim Hendrick.
Dick, down here in the eastern half of the pits, we're getting the word of a driver change. Mel Larson of Circus, are you changing drivers?
That's correct. Chip's boat is now officially out of the race, the Miller, unfortunately. And so we've elected to put Chip into it for the 3rd heat and, of course, going for the Gold Cup. And we're working on the boat right now, the Circus, and it looks like we're going to get it back in shape. There was very cosmetic damage. It looked very bad, but it wasn't all that serious. We had to replace or do some work on the cowling and replace the rear stabilizers and the wings and I can't think of a few other things.
You're borrowing some parts, too, from the Miller.
That's right. The Miller was out anyway, so we borrowed some parts from it, and it looks like, the last I looked, it looked like we'll make it and be back in the running with Chip and see if we can give Chip his seventh Gold Cup.
So the APBA Gold Cup continues to unfold in an exciting story from Evansville, Indiana, a story that'll continue in a moment.
A tradition of horsepower. Miss Budweiser and the King of Beers. A tradition of horsepower that's making waves. Racing fans, this Bud's for you.
We're getting down to the final elimination heat of action for Gold Cup 88 here in Evansville, Indiana. But first, let's switch to Augusta, Georgia, and a report on the Mod VP action.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln with a Mercury Outboard Racing Update. This time from Augusta, Georgia for the 3rd round of the International Outboard Grand Prix Tour. Unseasonably cool weather and sunny skies brought a record-setting crowd to the Savannah River to watch 2 days of thrills and spills. A blowover in the first lap of Saturday's qualification heats in the SST 140 class sent Mike Tomberlin of Augusta, Georgia, and the Martinez Marine boat of Jay Price back to the pits for repairs.
We was bumping. I bumped 2 boats going down the chute trying to find a lane, and there just wasn't enough room. I tried to come over, and there's a boat there. We banged twice, and finally the air trapped both of us. I believe he went up first and sucked me over.
Then Homer Green of Hobe Sound, Florida, crashed into the Castleberry team entry Kevin Miller. The wreck took Green out of the race, but Miller and his crew worked furiously to repair their boat for the non-qualifiers heat later in the day.
We're just going to try and go out and qualify. We just want to give us a little more time so we can get it really set up for tomorrow.
What did you exactly do here? I mean, it looks like it's just duct taped together, but is that safe?
No, it's not just duct tape. We've screwed on wood everywhere we thought there was needed cracks. We've got wood on the inside and the outside, so it should be virtually as strong as it was.
Ken Davis in his Mercury-powered Georgia tourism boat took the pole position for the final event with a top qualifying speed of 88.3 miles per hour. Calm water and a light breeze made racing conditions perfect on Sunday as a full field of SST 140s lined up to race. As in the elimination heats, the day started with a bang. Alan Wagner in the Don Q Rum boat became the day's first victim, blowing over on the first lap of the race. Next, it was David Annis's turn when he and first-year IOGP racer Bob Humphrey of West Palm Beach, Florida, collided again in the first turn, causing the race to be stopped. IOGP officials warned the surviving racers that this would be their last chance to race.
Under the rules, you get 3 restarts. 1 original, 2 restarts. So do it right this time, fellas.
The warning was effective. All remaining drivers punched their boats safely through the first turn, with Ken Davis in the Georgia tourism boat and Tony Romero of Tavernier, Florida, in a tight battle for the lead. The battle was short. Romero spun out on the first lap, and Davis had the lead all alone. Meanwhile, Kevin Miller of the Castleberry Foods team in his patched-together boat picked his way from the back of the pack to overtake Davis on lap 16 and never relinquished the lead. Final results showed Davis in second place. The other half of the Miller Brothers team, Mark in third. Join us again for more Mercury racing action next time from Baltimore, Maryland. The International Outboard Grand Prix, this is Chris Lincoln reporting.
Well, Dick, that Mercury Series is really heating up, but right now it's back to action for Gold Cup 88 for Unlimited.
All right, and let's take a look at Heat 3A. This will be the Arc Construction boat, Stephen David, with paddock pools driven by Jerry Hopp, the U7. Also in this one, the turbine-powered U8 Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce, and the automotive-powered Mistro Light U9, Todd Yarling. Another turbine boat, the U66 Sutphen Spirit, Mike Hansen, the driver. Here they come out of corner number 4.
And Todd Yarling, the Mistro Light, will not answer the bell. On the inside, it's the Miss Paddock Pools, Jerry Hopp. Lane 2, Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce. Lane 3, Arc Construction, Steve David. And on the outside, Sutphen Spirit with Michael Hansen as they dive across the starting line and to corner number 1.
Steve David with a very fine start in the Arc Construction boat, and you can see him, the black boat nearest to you. Now here comes Mr. Pringles. Scott Pierce, the turbine-powered boat, taking over the lead as they come into corner number 2. This is Scott Pierce in the lead. Second place, Paddock Pools trying to hold in there, but right now Arc Construction has taken over second. He is on the outside. Paddock Pools is trying to challenge. There's your lead boat as they hit out onto the back stretch.
Arc Construction with Steve David, the rookie, currently in second place. And a problem with the Sutphen Spirit, I believe, Dick.
It certainly looks like it. He hasn't gotten the power that he had in the earlier heats out here. Now, remember, this is a boat that was under repair just a few moments ago. Mike Hansen out of Cape Coral, Florida, still holding in there, but he's holding third place right at the moment. Here's your lead boat, Mr. Pringles. Whoops, gets a little bit light. Little bit light on the turn as he comes back into the wind, which is coming up the river.
That's indicative of these boats today. They come around off of corner 4, come down the front chute, and they hit a little headwind on this river, and that's dangerous.
Scott Pierce in control in this race. In Mr. Pringles, gets a little light again as he goes down into corner number 1. Look at this. Arc Construction holding on to second place by a nose and no more, because Paddock Pools, Jerry Hopp, the yellow boat on the inside to the right of your screen, is now challenging to take over second place.
And they come down, bouncing through some slop off of corner number 4 to complete their first lap.
Still having a little trouble. Oh, look at Paddock Pools. Paddock Pools, Jerry Hopp getting high. Now here's a Vietnam pilot, and he's getting a little bit Vietnam action out there as he really fights the waves coming off, and that always happens when you're riding back in second and third place. You've got to be careful. Meanwhile, in fourth, the story, what happened to the Sutphen Spirit?
It has to be in the engine housing because the driver will push it if it will go. Coming around to take the checker flag, Mr. Pringles with Scott Pierce here in 3A, while your number 2 and 3 place boats, the Paddock Pools and the Arc Construction, get the green flag for one more lap to go.
So a great ride for Mr. Pringles, and there you see him coming now as he comes by for the victory run. Scott Pierce has taken the win in Heat 3A, so he continues his battle for the national high points. He's got a good run going. This has got to give him a lot of confidence. This was a boat, remember, that was involved in an accident in Miami, Florida in the first race of the season. Look at this battle coming up for second and third. Paddock Pools to the right of your screen is now in second place, takes the checkered flag for second. So Jerry Hopp gets himself some points, and there's Steve David in the Arc Construction boat coming in third. A good job at driving by Jerry Hopp. Had to hold off Arc Construction on the outside, but managed to do so. Your winning driver back on the dock now, Scott Pierce with a fast lap of 127.253. Let's go dockside with Jim Hendrick.
All right, for the first time today, the winner's circle goes to Scott Pierce. Scott was sometime coming.
Yeah, we've come a long ways back from Miami, as you know, Jim. We're continually working on the boat every heat, trying to get it to be as good as the Pringles can be, and hopefully we'll have that for the final heat.
Well, certainly the boat has improved in its performance today, taking a first place in Heat 3A, Paddock Pools second, Arc Construction in third, and Sutphen Spirit rounding things out in fourth. The big story of the day, the driver change. Chip Hanauer is moving over to the Circus boat. With his thoughts on it, our driver analyst, Jim Kropfeld.
This looks like very smart strategy on Chip's part to jump into the Circus and go out and try to accumulate enough points to be able to get into the final, so that we'll give him his opportunity to win his 7th consecutive Gold Cup.
Thank you, Jim. That sets the field for the final elimination heat of the day, Heat 3B, with 4 boats in competition as Chip Hanauer takes out the Circus Circus.
Let's take a look at the lineup. The Miss Budweiser, Tommy Deeth, U1, also in the field. The Oh Boy Oberto, which has had a good day out here so far. George Woods driving. The Holset Miss Madison, very consistent runs today. Ron Snyder driving. And the Miss Circus Circus with the driver change. It's now Chip Hanauer.
It's Circus Circus lane 1, Budweiser lane 2, Oberto lane 3. On the outside, Holset Miss Madison as they dive for corner number 1 here in Heat 3B.
Miss Budweiser, Tommy DeEath taking the lead as they go into turn number 1. And it looks like he's going to have a lot of trouble with Circus Circus. Circus Circus trying to come up on the inside. Out of corner number 2, the Miss Budweiser still holding and still controlling. And Circus Circus has fallen off the pace a bit.
He's coming around with what could be a record lap as he really puts it down. And it is a record for this course, 139.2 mile an hour for Tommy DeHeath as he increases his lead.
Tommy coming down the front straightaway now, and he has got that boat very light. And he comes down and he takes off. Tommy Deeth up and over, landing right on the cockpit in the Ohio River. Tommy Deeth is still in the cockpit. We're trying to see if he's waving or what he's signaling. Red flags are going out. On the course, flares are up. And the boat appears to still be on power now. You can see the concern there. Bernie Little moving out. And Jim, there's fire inside the turbine.
And a quick action by the rescue crew. Those divers were there instantly. A good job by this rescue crew here in Evansville, Indiana. There's fire in the turbine. That has to be spilled fuel.
They are right now working to check on Tom Deeth, make sure that he is okay. They are unstrapping him, as you can see right now. And there you can see the fire extinguishers have moved in. They are extinguishing the fire on the Miss Budweiser. What an unbelievable run for this boat.
Let's take a look at it. He comes up on the right sponson. He can't get it down. The boat thinks it's an airplane. Can't get enough altitude. Comes over in a 360-degree flip. Hits upside down. Bounces on the tail. And then comes right side up. And that's lucky that happened.
I have to tell you, if there was ever a test for the cockpit, that certainly is one of them right there. We look at another view of it now. There you see he has lost it now. As he tried to get back off it, it was too late. The propeller had already broken out of the water. The boat literally flipping over and almost corkscrewing. Then as he comes back down, he catches one sponson and flips right on top of the canopy. The boat continues to roll over, comes right side up, and here you can see the scene as we go back to real time. You can see Tommy Deeth coming out of the boat. Wow, what a test of the cockpit. The guy gets out of the cockpit himself. The rescue crew's trying to help him. I think he's telling him that he's okay, that he'll get there himself.
He wants to walk by himself. That's obvious. The signal is to cross your hands back and forth when you come out of a boat to let the crew back there know he's all right. And, of course, his wife, Judy, she wants to know, and there's the signal.
There it is. So everybody knows that Tom Deeth, in his own opinion, is all right. Now, of course, here we'll take him back in and check him out, so we'll have a further report. Meanwhile, we'll continue with more action on the Ohio River from Evansville in just a moment.
They're quickly putting the hooks on the Miss Budweiser to keep her from sinking. The driver, Tommy Deeth, is with Dick Crippen. Dick?
Once it started to go, it was gone.
Yeah, it didn't even hardly give any warning. I saw the ripple on the water before before liftoff, and I tried to slow it down at that point, but it was gone. Nothing I could do. It never happened. I mean, that's the first time I ever blew a boat over in my life, and it happened so fast. There was nothing I could do to stop it.
Safety capsules, you like them?
Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. It would have thrown me out. I'd probably been killed.
The boat itself, you just had completed a 139-plus lap.
Well, I didn't know what the lap time was. I was just, game plan was to go out there and try and win and be as conservative as I could. I guess the gust of wind is what took me out. I really feel bad for Budweiser and for myself and for Bernie Little because I thought we had the Gold Cup, but boy, Lady Luck just bites you right in the you-know-where sometimes.
But Lady Luck was on his side in this particular accident. He'll race another day. Here's the restart of Heat 1B on the inside, Chip Hanauer, Circus Circus. In the middle, Holset Miss Madison with Ron Snyder. And on the outside, George Woods with Oh Boy Oberto.
Coming down for the start, it is going to be Circus Circus Chip Hanauer, who is looking for his 7th Gold Cup, maybe later today. Takes the restart, and he has the lead going into turn number 1. He's got a good lead over Oh Boy Oberto. George Woods Jr. back in 2nd place, and rounding out the field in 3rd place right now, the Holset Miss Madison. There you get a good shot of Oh Boy Oberto, and this boat has run well today. As a matter of fact, it's been consistent on the entire circuit. Miss Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer, the new driver. He knows this boat well, though, Jim.
Yes, it was his boat of a couple of years ago. In fact, the first part of last year. Then he switched back to an older boat, had this one on the beach. Circus Circus folks came up and sponsored the boat, and he knows it very well.
Both boats, incidentally, owned by Fran Muncie. Here's the Holset Miss Madison. This boat nearing the end of its career with Ron Snyder. They have a brand new boat on the drawing boards. It is already mostly constructed. They are ready to bring it on the circuit in a couple of races from now.
124.1, so the speed of these laps with no competition to speak of, it's just going to be, let's get used to the boat for the final for Chip Hanauer.
So Chip Hanauer adjusting as he rides in the pink Circus Circus. Johnny Prevost playing in the decision to put Chip in there to defend the Gold Cup. If indeed the boat makes it to the final heat. This boat, what a great story to tell. George Woods Jr., the boat was in an accident in the first heat, but continues to run very consistent. And of course, the Holset Miss Madison holding third.
Holset Miss Madison is a forgiving boat. It'll come out, but will not nose in. Always lays flat. That's been the way this boat has been for over 12-year career.
And as we look at Circus Circus, we can see the checkered flag coming out on the course now. Chip Hanauer taking the win in Circus Circus. A beautiful ride, average speed of 118.774 miles per hour. Chip Hanauer has got to be pleased with that. Second place to oh boy, Alberto George Woods Jr. And third place to the very consistent running Holset Miss Madison. You see her right there as we give you the points that have been accumulated for this Heat 3B. And what's this? More changes in the pits? We'll be back to talk about that and much more action as we continue with the HFC American Hydroplane Racing Series from Evansville, Indiana.
We're down to the final field, and the Sutphen Spirit will run Bernie Little's Budweiser colors here in the final. Here's the starting lineup, Dick Crippen.
And we'll start with the Oh Boy Alberto U2 to be driven by George Woods. The U4 Arc Construction, rookie Stephen David in his first Gold Cup. Paddock Pools, the U7, Jerry Hopp the driver. The U8, Mr. Pringles, that's Scott Pierce behind the wheel. The Miss Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer, driving for his 7th Gold Cup. The Sutphen Budweiser boat, Mike Hansen out of Cape Coral, Florida. And the alternate boat, the Holset Miss Madison, Ron Snyder.
And here comes the final field of 6 as they come down toward the starting line on this 2-mile oval, Ohio River, Evansville, Indiana. It's for the Gold Cup 1988.
Stephen David in his first ever Gold Cup race takes the start, and it's a perfect one. But look at him. Lane number 2, Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer breaking through, and in lane number 4, it's going to be the Sutphen Budweiser boat.
As they come off the apex of corners number 1 and 2 and down the back chute, it is Chip Hanauer in the Circus Circus, looking for his 7th consecutive Gold Cup. I said one time he'd never break the record, or no one would, of 6 straight. He's going to break his own record if he keeps it this way. Whoa! He flies that boat off of corner number 4.
He's going to have to be very careful because he knows he's got a lot of pressure coming up, especially on the outside from the Sutphen Budweiser boat, riding in second place, the U66. And we can't discount the Oh Boy Alberto boat on the inside.
Michael Hansen is flying. The Sutphen Budweiser getting very loose here at the end of lap number 1, which goes at 133.2 for the leader. Circus Circus, while Mr. Pringles sitting third. Arc Construction with Steve David is 4th.
A lot of battling going on as we look at Gold Cup action here on the Ohio River in Evansville, Indiana. There's Paddock Pools, Jerry Hopp. He is in 5th place now. You can see some of the black smoke as he tries to add a little nitrous into that engine and get some acceleration. No acceleration needed for this boat. They just got to hold it on the water. Circus Circus, Chip Hanauer going for his 7th consecutive Gold Cup. So far, so good. Here's the checkered flag coming out for Circus Circus. He has done it. Chip Hanauer taking his 7th consecutive Gold Cup. What a moment in this young man's life.
And Circus Circus people have to be elated. And of course, you've got to give credit to Chip Hanauer. He's done the job 7 straight years. Sutphen Budweiser will take second place with Michael Hansen.
And I'm sure they're not disappointed. Look at the damage on Mr. Pringles. apparently got caught in a rooster tail. It knocked the horizontal stabilizer wing off, and the fins are flapping. So we'll see if they hold on for the finish of the race. Here's your winner coming in right now, getting a little bit wet as he approaches the dock area, and he has got to be celebrating in there. There's Scott Pierce coming in Mr. Pringles. I don't think they can be terribly disappointed, especially with the damage that is showing on the boat right now.
And this boat, of course, was upside down a few weeks ago at Miami. An elated Chip Hanauer, he has to be. Look at him. He is a really happy young man.
Chip Hanauer with his 7th consecutive Gold Cup.
Here are the final results. Circus Circus, Sutphen Budweiser, Mr. Pringles, and our construction. Fran Muncie, the owner of the boat, the sponsor, Circus Circus, and a happy dock. I wonder what goes through the thoughts of a man who has just won his 7th consecutive Gold Cup.
All I can say is thank you. I mean, there's just, you can see how many people it took. It took, you know, a cast of hundreds and a fleet of boats, but we got it done.
Chip, I think the word is never say die at Evansville for you.
Well, I think that's what sums these guys up, is they just refuse to die. You know, at one point they just said, you know, Miller High Life's out of commission. We got to just put everything we got, take the best of both boats and put them on one boat and go for it. And we went for it and it worked.
Congratulations to Chip Hanauer, his 7th consecutive Gold Cup. Oh boy, Alberto leads the field in high points for national championship after 3 races. And so the 1988 Gold Cup is now history here on the Ohio River in Evansville, Indiana. An exciting, fast race, Dick Crippen.
Yes, it certainly was. We saw proof positive the cockpits are the way to go because the Miss Budweiser went over, landed right on the cockpit, and Tommy Deeth was able to walk away from it. We saw a lot of combo boats. We saw a guy win his 7th Gold Cup, Chip Hanauer, and he didn't even think earlier in the day that he was going to be part of the final heat. But it's been an exciting, suspense-filled day. A lot of good stories to talk about.
And a new sponsor boat, Circus Circus, wins the Gold Cup, and they're a fine group. We're happy to have them back.
Oh, we sure are. They had a revolutionary boat a couple years ago. It didn't do an awful lot for them, but it caused a lot of ruckus. A lot of people got behind the pink boat. Now they're back with turbine power, and I think their season has started in Evansville.
And the Budweiser crew now have to repair that boat for a 2nd time this year.
And they will do it. If any crew can do it, it's the Budweiser crew. They'll be back.
For Jim Kropfeld, our driver analyst, for Dick Crippen, I'm Jim Hedrick. So long.
The HFC American Hydroplane Series has been sponsored by Household Finance Corporation, America's financial resource, and Merc Cruiser. Merc Cruiser, way out in front. A promotional consideration has been supplied by Executive Inn. Over 90,000 square feet of meeting facility, 500 beautiful guest rooms, athletic club, weight rooms, indoor pool, and more. All at Bob Green's Executive Inn, Evansville. And Continental Airlines, which has great low max saver fares and convenient service to over 90 U.S. and 35 international destinations. Continental, working to be your choice.